As we put a wrap on our tribute today to Tom Holland, there's no way that we can encapsulate the life of someone who was larger than life like Tom Holland in an hour or even in 2 hours. But we have now the task of trying to conclude or maybe offer some concluding thoughts about Brother Tom. When you think about Tom Holland and all the many memories that you have, what comes to mind by way of trying to maybe sum it up?
That's a hard question. When you think of the Ryman sermon, the magnificence of what he did that night, a human being proclaiming the message of Christ in a captivating form. When I think of the beauty of salvation, when I think of all of the writings, to segment out just one single thing and say that's him, to me I can't. But all of these, the composite. But then I think of the love that he had for his Father, the love he had for his Savior, the love that he had for human beings and wanted them to be saved. What a man.
He was quite a man, larger than life,
for sure.
No doubt. Brother Jimmy?
When a person dies like this, that word got out that it was coming close and he was under hospice care, you automatically start thinking about the past and now the present and then now what the future holds. And the mind works so much faster than the mouth can work. And you think about your first experience with a person and then an impressionable time in your life when you were young. And here's a person who's trying to help you crawl before you can ever start walking and then running and then not even think about it becoming second nature. And then as your work starts to dovetail together to where he's not looking at you as a student anymore, he's looking just at you as another preacher. And then as you get a little older, he calls you on the phone and says, I want you to come do something with me. And I'm like, when is it? Where is it? And I'll give you, for instance, in Columbia, Tennessee, years ago, I was asked to come on a Thursday. Brother Holland called me on the phone. He said, Brother Woodson and I do this Columbia Bible Institute, and we have a guest speaker come in on a Thursday, and we want you to come, want you to give 3 lessons. And then he assigned me the topics. And one of them was a study of the Greek words for life. Now, Brother William Woodson was my Greek teacher at Freed-Hardeman, and he's going to be seated to my right, and Tom Holland is going to be seated next to him. So here is my Greek teacher, and here is my homiletic teacher seated over here while I have 25 preachers from all over the South in front of me, and then these 2 gentlemen, and I am to give a lesson on life from the Greek New Testament, the words on it. And then he gave me a couple of other assignments. And when it was over, he got up and he basically was going to give his lecture toward the end. And he says, well, now you're going to have the dog and puppy show because you had the scholarly show. And I thought, well, if you thought that was scholarly, you shouldn't have asked me to do it. But in his mind, it was like, this is what he is capable of doing, and this is what I'm going to do. It's not that Brother Holland didn't know Greek. Okay? And then later on, an incident personally with me, right after Brother Woodson died, Brother Woodson and Brother Holland were to speak at the East Tennessee School of Preaching, lectureship. Of course, Brother Holland was there, and Brother Woodson, being deceased, was not going to be able to fill that appointment. Well, he calls me on the phone. He says, I need you, if you can, to come give these 2 lectures here at the East Tennessee School of Preaching. Brother Woodson has these assignments, but obviously Brother Woodson's not going to be able to fill it. And can you do it in your schedule? And it worked to where I could. And I thought, what kind of confidence does this man have in me to give me Brother Woodson's assignments that Brother Woodson had already written the manuscripts, it was in the book, and you're asking me to come fill that hole as though I stood there and I was just like, this is not possible. Let's just get through this, do the lesson you're going to give. But when it was all over, he walks up to me and he couldn't have been more complimentary. It's almost like, I knew you could do it and you showed that you could do it. And that's how he made you feel.
Special.
Oh, beyond special, like he was my own father. I mean, my own father would encourage me in so many ways because he's a preacher and he knew what preaching was. But Tom Holland knew what preachers needed sometimes. When you knew, you know, I didn't hit that one out of the ballpark. I didn't even get to first base on that one, but he made you think that you did hit that out of the ballpark, and then you just keep on trying. One day you'll make a preacher, as they used to tell me.
Wow.
And that's just the nature of how he was to help me personally when I think about my own personal experiences with him.
Yeah, you know, I would say, just in concluding, that Brother Tom Holland was proud of you.
For certain, yeah.
And I have no doubt he was proud of you as a student, as a preacher, as a teacher, as a friend. And he left a mark on you. Brother Paul, I know he was a tremendous friend, a confidant to you. And you guys stood shoulder to shoulder, side by side for many, many years. And you had a rich relationship together. And no one can take those memories from either of you.
No.
And the brotherhood has been made richer. The world has been made richer by the influence of Tom Holland. And I think in closing, we can say, well done, good and faithful servant. And he was a man for the ages.
Just think of the homecoming one day. How many times I have heard, and y'all have heard, him present a eulogy or a funeral message or whatever. Often refer to it as the homegoing, the celebration of life. And we are still on this side of eternity. But to look to the time of the rejoicing and singing with him again throughout ages.
Wonderful thoughts, wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you guys more than you know.
Pleasure.
And those wonderful memories. Thank you, and thank you for being a part of our viewing audience today.